Today I'm going to walk you through my process, uncut and unfiltered, how I'm going to set up a new microservice within Python and call it from n8n. So here's what I'm going to do. I wrote a little overview. So I'm going to start with the chat node where I can paste in the YouTube URL. I'm going to send that URL to my Python backend where I'm going to set up a service that calls the YouTube Transcription API. I'm going to transcribe the video, and then I'm going to send the transcript back to n8n where I give it to an AI agent that's going to pull out the key points. After I get this working, not sure how far I get or how long this will take, but if I can get this working pretty easily, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this workflow so that I can put in a search term, like I can put in prompt engineering, and then when I submit that, we'll get the first 10 videos from YouTube, and then we're going to get the transcript from all those 10 videos, and we're going to synthesize all the key points from all those 10 videos and then bring it back into n8n. The idea here is that there's just a lot of really good content on the internet, but I don't have the time to watch all these videos. So how cool would it be if I could just type in a search term and then kind of get like a blog post synthesizing all the highest quality content from these things. So I've created a really rough plan here. And the point of this video is just to show you how I work and how I set up n8n with Docker. One really cool thing about n8n that I've been learning recently is that something like the YouTube Transcript API doesn't exist as an n8n node natively within n8n. But what's really cool is that you can just create a tiny Python service that does one specific thing, like call the YouTube Transcript API, which is just a Python package. And even though this doesn't exist in n8n, we can call our Python service from n8n. The Python service will do some work, and then it will return the transcript back to n8n. So really, as long as you can vibe code code a really simple, some simple functionality, you can create things that don't already exist in n8n. Anyway, let's just get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to confirm. Oops. Just going to confirm this is the right thing. So this is the Python package I want to use. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a prompt in ChatGPT just to show me. Basically, I'm going to ask it. I'll just do it here. I want to set something up. Basically, I want to set up the simplest possible FastAPI application that can set up a new endpoint and take in a YouTube URL and use the YouTube Transcript API to transcribe it and return the transcript from that endpoint. I'm going to put it on light thinking because it shouldn't be that difficult. And what I did here was I used Whisper Flow, where I can just hold my function button and just speak to it. It's called Whisper Flow. Cool. So here, using ChatGPT, I'm getting an outline. Not really an outline, actually. This is going to give me pretty much a working Python app, which is going to connect to this transcript API. And so without any knowledge of really how this API works or anything, I'm most likely going to have a working app here. And I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into Cursor in just a second. All right, it's done here. And then I'm going to create a new README called YouTube prd.md. I'm going to paste this in here. I'm going to get rid of some of the stuff about how to run it because this doesn't apply. Okay, cool. So I guess what I'll show you real quick is my what's relevant here. Basically, I have a bunch of these services that I've built at different times that are used for different things. Really, so I've installed Docker locally on my computer, or I've installed n8n running inside of Docker locally on my computer. And that is actually the only service I want running right now. Once I add the YouTube one, I'm going to also set this up here. So basically what I have here is I can just run, instead of my terminal, I can just run, let me move this. I can just run, I can just run DC up, and it's just this script that says, look at this little configuration file, and for whichever of these services is set to true, let's do like a Docker compose up so that we can start the service. So since I'm not using FFmpeg, LinkedIn, the OpenAI search service, or any of this other stuff, I'm going to set all this to false, but I am using n8n. So when I run DC up like this, it's going to start n8n, which I've done already. And if you're curious about how I got this set up, I have another video. You can look at my channel to find that. But we're good here, so let's get coding. I'm going to use Grok Fast here. It's not the smartest model, but it's fast based on its name. And I'm going to just dictate a prompt. I've set up a PRD that shows you exactly how to use the YouTube Transcript API to fetch the transcript from a video URL. I want you to take a look at my other services to see my patterns of how I'm setting up these microservices. And I want you to set up a new service called YouTube Transcript, YouTube_transcript. The purpose of this service is to simply receive a URL from an n8n workflow and fetch the transcript and then return the transcript. Cool. So again, I just use WhisperFlow to dictate that. That makes things so much faster when you're vibe coding. I think it's super awesome. So now I've given it some instructions. I need to give it some files to look at. I'm going to show it my starter script, and then I think I'm going to show it my LinkedIn service, just so it kind of knows. I'm kind of giving an example, like I'm just showing it some context of how my other services start up, so that now when I give it instructions about the YouTube transcript fetching API, and then I'm showing it other services that I've created that already work with n8n and instructions. And I actually want to tell one other thing. Make sure to create a new directory with a new Docker file and all the necessary things to get this started. And watch how fast this is. Grok Fast is fucking awesome. So right now it's just looking at my existing projects, the ones I've shown it in the context. It's making sure that it understands everything. It created a plan. It's making a new directory for the service. Awesome. Nothing's inside of it yet. All right, it wrote a 93-line file already, mostly using, it looks like, what I showed it from the ChatGPT result. Let me keep that. It created a requirements file, which this has a YouTube Transcript API, so Python knows what to do. It created a new service. I'm going to change this to true in a second after all this is done. And now it's running some stuff, which is kind of annoying, but I'm just going to let it do its thing. You actually don't have to accept all these until it's over. Okay, it looks like it's done. Cool. So we have, let's see, we've created the FastAPI endpoint, we've installed the dependencies, configure the container. I'm just going to trust that it's working and try it. That's the point of vibe coding, right? So I'm going to set this to true. I'm going to flip over to warp. Warp is my terminal, iTerm, or terminal competitor, which I love. And I'm just going to run DC up. So you'll see how this works. So this is going to start. The first time it goes, it needs to build this new service and install the dependencies using the Docker file, the requirements file, just basic Python stuff. So when I run this DC up, it's spinning up my YouTube Transcript API app, which we just created, and my n8n app, which is also defined as true in this configuration file. And then all these other services are false, so we're only starting 2 of these. All right, it looks like, cool. It looks like my apps are running, and this is all good. So before, like, I could go in right now and start wiring up n8n stuff, but instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna just like make an HTTP request to my Docker service just to make sure that like I can run a curl command and it calls my like I can send in a YouTube link and I get a transcript back just to make sure the service is working. So I'm gonna find a YouTube video first. Prompt engineering. Guess we're gonna find a prompt engineering video today. Let's find a short one. Okay, these are all long. 33 minutes. Come on, dude. Can we just get like, okay, 7 minutes? Sure. We're gonna get this video, close this, and I'm gonna tell Cursor, give me a curl command that can call our new service using this YouTube video. Cool, I'm gonna cancel that. I'm just gonna call the curl command myself from here. All right, failed. Well, that's good. So I'm gonna get this. So now I'm just gonna let Cursor do its thing. Let's see what happens. Some error with, oh, I'm in the wrong file. Some error with specifying the language. This is kind of annoying. It's it's like trying to start my app, but it's already running. I'm just gonna let it do its thing since it's just so much faster than me. And I know the problem's not that complicated. So yeah, basically at this point, what I'm concerned about is that Cursor doesn't, or right now I didn't give this access to the internet to go like find the actual API documentation and know how this works. So it's kind of just guessing, it's going to see some errors and it's going to do what it can to fix them. And it's probably going to look at the actual packages and dependencies to figure out like, hey, what are the methods we have access to? Um, but what I might end up doing here in a second is actually getting some outputs, putting some logging in, and then feeding this to ChatGPT with web search. So it actually knows like, hey, this is the source of truth for this API, and it can solve the problem. We'll see. I'll let this go a little longer. Seems like we're getting closer. yeah, we're running into some, it's like we're kind of running in a loop of problems. So if in a couple more iterations this isn't working, what I'll do here is I'll use Claude Sonnet and search the web. I think that will do it, but sometimes it's easier, especially with Grok Fast. It's just so freaking fast at iterating that it can often figure it out. Oh, cool, it worked. That's good. So at this point, something interesting I think about a lot is, so I gave the AI agent this task of like, calling this API. It went through a bunch of iterations of trying to figure stuff out. It made some mistakes. So one thing I think a lot about is this chat has a lot of information about what went wrong where the agent made mistakes. So I think a lot about context engineering and like, hey, wouldn't it make sense right now to ask the agent, actually, I'll just do this real quick. I want you to create a README that creates documentation about the mistakes you made and why they didn't work, ensuring that if we have this documentation, we'll never make these mistakes again. So the idea here is that the AI made mistakes and I want it to remember. So let's just store it somewhere. I don't know if I'll actually use this, but I think it's kind of cool to do. Cool. So it has this long ass README. I don't even really want to read it. Um, but yeah, I'll say this for later just in case. And I'm going to keep all the changes it made. I'm going to stop the containers. I'm going to start the containers. And then we should be able to set this up in n8n. We need to look at the curl command. Cool. So this is the URL we need to hit from n8n. So finally, we go to n8n. We're going to look for a chat node or a chat trigger. And then when we hit the chat trigger, we need to make an HTTP request. That request, are we a get or a post? Should be a post. Oh, it's actually a get. Okay. It's a get to this URL. So just an overview here is that we're able to call this localhost URL because we have a microservice running on port 8005 with an endpoint of /transcript here. So this is its own isolated Python app running inside of Docker. And then since we started the Python app here, and then we also started n8n here, and they're both running inside of Docker, n8n is running at port, I guess, yeah, 5678. And then this Docker one is running at port, I think, 8005 /transcript. So both these services are running inside of separate Python apps, but in the same container. And then we use Docker to network them. So it's just really powerful to have this kind of architecture. And I'm just really loving this with n8n. So I'm going to send, where is that YouTube video? What was the URL? Oh, I had the URL. Actually, I'm just going to open it here. Cool. Cool. So now I'm going to, oops, I'm going to just show this. Boom. All right. Refuse connection. Great. So let's see if we can see our logs, what exactly happened. Close that. So what was the error exactly? The service refused the connection. Is it port 8000 maybe? Let's try that. Nope. Okay. So why are we not able to hit our service? It said port 8005. That's weird. It is port 8005, so this should be good. So, oh, we need to send a body where, what is the name? The name is URL, and the value is the URL we're sending. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this because I'm lazy. Put into here. Why isn't this working from n8n? Hmm. I put the URL. It's YouTube underscore transcript API. That's right. I think that's it. And I guess it's 8,000. Cool. This is super useful. I mean, you can pause this and read through this. It's just like fundamentals of Docker right here. Is it 8,005? Wait, hold up. Is my shit running? Okay. YouTube underscore transcript API. I want to just be able to pass a full YouTube video URL from n8n and have my Python app grab the video ID itself. So I want to just pass in a URL to the transcript endpoint and have my Python app handle it. I just noticed it's telling me from my n8n container I need to actually maybe it's already doing this. What's it adding? Oh, Pydantic. I realized too, I'm using 30% of my context window here already, and so it's a little bit dangerous to keep asking it to do more and more and more things when I've already asked it a ton of questions, and it's like, yeah, the more stuff you're asking AI to do, you probably want to create a new chat. But yeah, I'm lazy and didn't do that this time, so we'll see. Worst case scenario here, it made a mistake, and I'm going to need to undo that and then kind of think about how to prompt it better. I'm going for speed here, which sometimes works really well, but sometimes digs yourself into a hole unnecessarily. Um, cool. It looks like this worked actually. Oh, we're doing a post now. That looks good. Okay, it's updating the README somehow. That's good. It's showing me the request body. Why is there any translation? Okay, I'm just going to keep these changes. So it looks like we're doing a post now. So let's take a look. We're going to do a post URL chat input. What's wrong with how I'm calling this? Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some headers I'm missing. Application JSON. No, I don't think that's what I want, actually. Here's what I'm going to do because I'm lazy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a new chat. Take a look at the setup I have with n8n. I'm somehow calling the API, or I'm calling my backend incorrectly. So I want you to take a look at my Docker setup and tell me exactly how I need to be calling my backend. The goal is that I can use a chat input node where I just give it a YouTube URL, and then I make an HTTP request, which is a post to my Python backend, and it does the transcription and then sends it back to the n8n app. So I just pasted in a screenshot of this. I'm going to take a screenshot of this just because, and then I'm going to switch my model. Oh yeah, there's a new sonnet available. We'll see how this goes. And I'm going to say main, make sure it's that, Docker file, oops. And requirements from my, where is my, there we go. And then I guess this readme because it has some stuff, and that should be good enough. I'm pretty sure. So one thing that's unfortunate about Grok Fast right now is that it doesn't accept images, so that's why I switched over to Sonnet. Sonnet's new and it's supposed to be great. This is actually my very first request with Claude 4.5 Sonnet. I've heard it's pretty good, but I've also heard that for state-of-the-art codex is better. Anyway. Okay. Oh, am I? Oh, is it eight? Oh, it's okay. I could have I could have seen this in my terminal. Awesome. Okay, cool. This is really good. So I'm now, this is like a huge success right here. I'm sending in a URL for my chat input and I'm now getting a transcript back. But what I see is that this is just like, this is just way too much. So what I want to do is I want to simplify my code so that I only return the concatenated transcript back to n8n. I don't need any of the timestamps or any of that. So help me modify my Python app so that I only return a string that's a transcript. So here I'm just showing it. I'm showing it like the full output of what n8n or of what the Python app returned so that I can, yeah, I guess you'll see in a second, but all I really want is text. I don't need all these timestamps and stuff. And it's going to simplify. We should be able to reduce the lines of code here. Okay. Um, I'm not sure if my app is actually set up to restart on save yet. It's not, unfortunately. What does that translate to? I want you to help me do two things. One, we no longer need to be able to translate to any other languages. All we're doing is grabbing the transcript and we are returning the result. So we're passing in a URL and we want to get the transcript for that. We don't need to do any translation stuff, so help me simplify the code if possible. Also, I want you to make sure that every time we save our main.py file in the YouTube transcript service, that it restarts the Docker container, so we don't have to do this manually. docker compose. I think that's enough. Yeah, so I mean, this is something that with working with Docker is super nice, is that just having hot reloading. So every time I save this file, it should just restart my Docker container. Otherwise, I have to go in here and do it manually, which is just super annoying. So yeah, I'm just asking it to do that here for me. Okay, it looks like we're removing 36 lines of code, which is always awesome. I'm a little skeptical if this is going to work because we just removed so much code and I didn't read it, but hey, vibe coder's going to vibe code. All right. I might just have to stop this service. I'm just going to stop it just to make sure. And I'm going to restart. So the transcript API is up, n8n is up, and let's, what happened here? Boom, reset. All right, it didn't work. What did we do? One cool thing with Cursor is that you can do @web. That's okay. So yeah, like in this case, I asked it to do something. It clearly it removed some function. Like I had this extra code in here because I'm vibe coding and just not really paying attention and going for speed. But I had this extra code that I saw in here from scanning that was doing something with translations, which is just totally irrelevant. And I really want this app to be like the thinnest layer, like just the least code possible, so that all I need to do is pass in a URL and get back a transcript. That's all I want to do. But I saw some extra translation shit, so I'm like, I told it to take it out. And obviously, like Cursor, like in its own environment, if I'm using YouTube Transcript API, it doesn't actually know all of the methods of the API unless it really looks into the Python package. So once it made a mistake and had an error, I am explicitly like copying the error, showing AI the error and saying, hey, here's the error. Look up on the web to see what's going on, and it helped me fix this. So presumably here, we searched the web, figured out how the API really works, and then we're going to try again. Motherfucker, it didn't work. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna. Yeah, I don't really know how this API works, and another thing I could do, which might be smart, would be to, oops, my computer's so slow right now. I would say transcript API YouTube. This is actually another thing I like to do um, for like context engineering is just copy the whole docs, copy all of this, and then I should just put it into here, say docs.md. Cool. So now we have at least what's on the README of the docs. Um, Yeah, honestly, this is taking me a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's fine. It's part of the process. It's also probably because I'm recording. I'm a little bit like scatterbrained. Okay, so this isn't working still. I'm wondering like I'm gonna stop the container and then restart just to make sure everything is fresh. Um, I'm going to call this again. Okay. Now, since I have the docs here, I think Grok code is actually really good at least speed with debugging. So I'm going to give it this error. I'm going to say, take a look at the documentation for YouTube Transcript API. I'm going to show you the documentation from their README. And if the information is inside of that README to fix this immediately, go ahead and fix it. Otherwise, look more deeply into my dependencies and help me figure out what methods are available and help me figure out the correct way to fix this. So I gave it the README and I want to do docs.mb main.py. So I know it's very clear now that I've dug myself into a little bit of a hole. I actually had this working fine, and I probably could have just like concatenated the strings when everything is working, but I really wanted to get rid of this. I just saw this extra code with the translate to, which I see it's now adding back in. I don't know why we have to have the translation stuff, but I'm going to just go with it because it was actually working before. We're really close. Fix this. This is super lazy just to say this, but I'm banking on the fact that it's a simple enough request. I guess I'm just going to leave this translation shit in if it's working. I could have saved a ton of time, and I feel kind of frustrated right now. But whatever, I think we're actually even going back to what we had before, which I don't really know why we need this translation stuff, but I'm just going to let AI do its job. All right, hopefully we're back where we started. Cool. Now we're finally getting a full transcript. Cool. Now things are going to start moving a lot faster. So we're making this API call. We're getting the text back. Next, I'm going to set up this. Theoretically should be super easy. So let's do an AI agent. We're going to define below the incoming text. We're passing the text in here. We need to define a chat model to use. I'm going to use something fast like 4.1 mini just for testing. And then I'm going to say, give us a system message. This is something I do a lot, actually. It's just to use AI to help me write this. And I usually don't use thinking mode for this, but I'll say, you are the world's top prompt engineer. Help me rewrite this prompt to be more effective. And then I usually put this. I'll say, the user will be sending you the full transcript of a YouTube video. Your job is to pull out the key points into detailed bullet points. So that's kind of the basic prompt, and I'm going to have the prompt engineer rewrite this to be more effective. Cool. All right, that looks better. Put this into here, and we should just be able to run this. All right, cool. So this is good. Just to like see what my real output is like, I'm gonna say clean this up for me so it's readable. Cool. So this is what we have here now. This is kind of the final result of what we're getting from starting with the chat, getting the transcript from the chat, and then having an AI agent turn that, basically extract the key points from the YouTube video. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it'd be. I thought I'd be able to do it in about 20 minutes. I pretty much had it working, I think, at 23 or 25 minutes. But yeah, my learning here was that I kind of tried to start optimizing when I was like 95% done. I should have just got it working and called it, because I went through this whole debugging loop, and then I still have this translated shit, which I didn't really even pay attention to what was happening. Um, like, I think this whole block is unnecessary, but I'm just gonna ignore it. It's working. Hopefully this video was useful and you learned something. I guess just an overview is that, like, yeah, we're putting in a YouTube video and we're getting this output, but we're getting the output like this, and I had to copy it and put it into ChatGPT. So really, like, the best way, I guess the next question I would ask myself is, how do you go from getting this result to something that's more readable and nice? So, one idea is that you could, this is just a quick idea. So we got here done, or actually we got here done. But ideal flow here would be create a Next.js app with a big input box and a submit button. Upon submit, um, let's see. Yeah, so like upon submit, basically we would want to trigger our n8n workflow. And I actually haven't done that before, so maybe that would be a good next thing to do. Um, but yeah, my thought is like having a UI where we could like put in a YouTube video or something. Yeah, put in a YouTube video into the search term, and then we could display the results from this like AI call. That would be cool. And it would also allow us to extend the app a little bit more. So if we did want to do this part where we use the SERP API to actually do a YouTube search and then gather the first 10 videos and then like condense all of the insights from all of those videos and display them into the UI, that would actually be, yeah, that would be the next step. And I think that would really expand the usefulness of this app again. So yeah, maybe I'll be doing that in an upcoming video. But if you made it this far, thanks for hanging around, and I hope you got some value out of it. I hope you learned something about how Docker and n8n works together and how to make HTTP requests from n8n to Docker, setting up microservices with Python, and using the AI chat node. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.